Hello, welcome back. This session we will see static routing algorithms. As you remember, static routing algorithms are also called non-adaptive routing algorithms because they are computing their routes in advance, right? And those routes will be downloaded to the different routers when the network is booted itself. So the current traffic or topologies won't be considered here. That is why they are called static or non-adaptive routings. And the most popular routing algorithms in this category are shortest path routing and flooding. Routing is actually static routing, and the basic idea is to build a graph from the subnet. Okay, represent the entire subnet as a graph in which nodes in the graph represent routers in the subnet and arcs in the graph represent the communication links. So the problem of finding the optimal routes between any two routers is now converted into problem of finding the shortest path between these two routers or these two nodes in the corresponding graph. So we have a set of algorithms to find the shortest path in a graph, right? Like Dijkstra's algorithm, Floyd-Warshall's algorithm, like that. So we can apply any one of that algorithm to find the shortest path in the subnet. So what should be the path length in this case of a network? So different metrics can be used. For example, the number of hops along the path, number of intermediate routers along the path between two different routers, that can be taken as a metric. That can be taken as a measure of the length. Okay, in that case, the path which contains the lowest number of intermediate routers will be taken as the shortest path. Or we can take the geographical distance between these two routers as the length of the path. Otherwise, we can use some other metrics like queuing delay and transmission delay over the link. So in order to measure this queuing delay and transmission delay over the link, usually some test packets will be sent initially before sending the actual data and all. So using some test run, maybe in hourly basis and all, test packets will be sent, and based on the delay for that packets over the link, this queuing delay and transmission delay will be marked. Let us move on to the algorithm. Here we are using this Dijkstra's algorithm. Initial version of this Dijkstra's algorithm was used to find the shortest distance between two nodes, right? A pair of nodes, and different variants are available. Like we can use the same algorithm to find the shortest distance between one source to all the destinations. So here we are using such a variant, that is we can find the shortest distance from one particular router to every other destination routers. The basic technique is each node is labeled with its distance from the source along the bus node path. So initially we don't know what will be the distance from the source node, right? So everything will be marked as infinity. And labels may be tentative or permanent. We will mark it as either tentative or permanent. And initially all these labels will be tentative because we have to update as per the new information. And when a label represents the shortest possible path from the source to that node, it is made permanent and then never changed thereafter. We will see how these labels are become permanent from the tentative value with an example. We have given a weighted undirected graph. Weighted means every arc is labeled with a weight. It may be the communication cost of this link, or maybe the geographical distance between these two routers, or any other metric. We have seen different metrics, right? So every arc is labeled with a weight. That is why it is called a weighted graph. And these links or these arcs are not directed. Directions are not given. That is why it is called undirected. The communication is bidirectional here. Now the task is to find the shortest path from A to D. So A is the source node and D is the destination node. So let us start from the source node A. First task is to label every router with a distance, right, along the bus node path. Initially we don't know the distance, so we will mark every router with the value infinity. Okay, so we can see here every node is marked with infinity as the shortest path or non-distance from the source node A. So we will start from the source node A. Okay, the green color indicates that is permanent. So make this source node permanent, and this arrow indicates this is the current working node. Okay, from here what we are doing is we will examine the all adjacent nodes to A. Adjacent nodes in the sense the nodes which are directly connected with a link to this source node. So B and G are the adjacent nodes to A. We will examine these two. And we will relabel these two nodes with the distance from A. Since they are adjacent, we know the distance, right? The current weight is given in the input graph itself. So we can relabel those two. So when we relabel, it is a pair, right? We can see here two values are there. First value is the distance from the source. Second one is the node from which this probe was made. So you can see here 2A. 2A means 2 is the distance from source node and A is the node from which the probe was made. Okay, like that here also 6A will be the new weight. Now what we are doing is, after relabeling every adjacent node, we will check the entire graph to find a tentative node which is with the lowest value in this label. Okay, so here we have two different nodes, this G and B, in which B is the node with the lowest label, right? So we will take this as the current node. Now B is the current working node, right? Examine all the nodes which are adjacent to B. E and C are the adjacent nodes. We have to relabel these two nodes. What this B will check is whether the distance of E from A through B is less than the distance given here. That is, already the distance from A to B is known to B plus this cost of this link, that is the distance from B to E, is also known, right? So this distance plus this distance is less than the label given here. Okay, so 2 plus, this is 2 plus 2, 4. 4 is less than infinity, right? Definitely. So we have to replace this by 4 comma B. Like that here, the cost through this path is actually, or the distance through this path is actually 2 plus the cost of this link, distance from through this link, that is 7, right? 2 plus 7, 9. 9B is the new value here. So you can see here C is labeled with the 9B and E is labeled with 4B. Now among all the tentative nodes, take the node with the lowest value. So E is the new candidate. To make E as permanent. And this is the current working node. Again repeat the same procedure. All the nodes adjacent to E. So G and F are the nodes adjacent to E, right? So apply the same procedure to G and F. G also changed to 5E and F changed to 6E. Among this, G is the current working node, right? Because that is the lowest distant one. So now we will get H as 9G and F as 6E. So 6F will be the new working node. Again next one will be the 8F will be the new one. Then D will be get 10H. Among this, C will be the current working node. And finally D will be the current working node. So every node in this graph became permanent now, right? You can see that our problem was to find the shortest distance from A to D, right? Now it is 10. Shortest distance is 10 from A to D and it is through H. So the path is through H. Here you can see that shortest distance from H to A is 8 and it is through F. Like that we can retrieve back to the corresponding node. So this is the actual path. A, B, E, F, H, D, and the total distance is 10. So this algorithm terminates in two different cases. First one, when all the nodes became permanent, just like our example. That means we have found the shortest path from the source node to every other node. The second case is when the remaining tentative nodes all are labeled with an infinity. So we don't have a candidate for a current working node. That means we are reaching some dead end. Okay. So in such case also we have to terminate the corresponding algorithm. The static routing technique is flooding. As the name suggests, it floods the packets without searching for an optimal route. That means every incoming packet is sent out on every outgoing line except the one it arrived on. So obviously it will create a vast number of duplicate packets, right? So there should be some measure to reduce this duplicate now. One such measure is attach a hop count in the header of the packet. Hop count in the sense the number of routers, intermediate routers in between that source and destination. So if it is known in advance, the counter can be initialized with that value, length of the path. Whenever this packet reaches a particular hop or particular router, this count will be decremented. And when this counter becomes 0, the corresponding packet can be discarded. Like that, we can avoid or we can discard a lot of duplicate packets. And if the path length is not known in advance, it can be initialized with some worst case value like the diameter of the subnet, like that. That much time it will wander over the network, and after that it will be discarded. And another technique to reduce the number of duplicates is selective flooding. Selective flooding in the sense send on those lines that are going approximately in the right direction. Just for example, if the destination is in the west direction, there is no meaning of sending a packet to the east direction, right? Like that, we can focus the transmission into a particular direction. Of course, this flooding is not practical in most applications, right? Because a lot of traffic will be generated because of this unwanted duplicate packets. But it definitely has some uses, like in military applications where large number of routers may be blown to bits at any instant, right? So tremendous robustness will be required in that case. So flooding will be useful in such cases. And also in distributed applications, distributed database applications, it is sometimes necessary to update all the databases concurrently. In that case also we can use the flooding. And also in wireless networks, all messages transmitted by a station can be received by all other stations within the radio range, right? That is also actually example for flooding. And the fourth possible use of flooding is a metric against which other routing algorithms can be compared. So of course this flooding always chooses the shortest path, right? Because one packet will travel along that route. So definitely that optimal path will be found out by this flooding, and it can be used for comparison for other different routing techniques. So this is all about static routing algorithms. Next session we will see the dynamic routing algorithms. Thank you.